Hey y'all, welcome to this edition of Video Explosion. I'm your host, DJ Finesse. Today we have with us Sharon Benjamin, who is a professor, self-published author, and educator. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Looking forward to speaking to you. Stay tuned on Video Explosion. Welcome to this edition of Video Explosion. I'm your host, DJ Finesse. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a very special guest with me today, self-published author, professor, Sharon Benjamin is in the house today. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm excited about being here. I am.
Thank you for being here. We've been anticipating this for a while.
Yes, we have.
Yes, very happy and blessed you're on Video Explosion today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sharon.
Yes.
Yes, and we're excited. And please let our viewers know, Sharon, about your background and where you're from, please.
Yes. Well, I am a Southern girl who grew up in Tennessee. There were 13 children in my family, and my parents were neither had a formal education, but our house was one of education concern. And my mother only got an 8th grade education, my father 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. But my mother was very intentional about our learning how to write, not just writing, but penmanship as well. She had beautiful penmanship, and that was something that she stressed. And as I think back, remember in 1st grade, we didn't have kindergarten at my school, but in 1st grade, you remember those big line tablets? I still remember my penmanship on those tablets. And I had something called, I don't know if kids do this anymore, but pen pals. Mm-hmm. And it was exciting, to see myself writing so neatly and writing letters to pen pals. So we did that. But yeah, so growing up on the farm, and as I said, my parents were really intentional about our education. I tell people we were required to do at least 2 things: go to church and go to school. Mm-hmm. Those were requirements at our house. And my mother never learned to drive, but for somehow she got to the parent-teacher conferences. Not that she knew what they were saying, but she got to those parent-teacher conferences, and she made it a point to do that. So, I remember, I've always enjoyed reading, and I think it's because of my parents. It really is, because we didn't have a catalog of books at our house. We had a Bible study book, and I remember a large 1-volume encyclopedia. And we lived in a 4-room house. Mm-hmm. There was my parents' room, which served as the living room and their room. And whenever anybody visited, that was the room. Yes. Then the girls' room was next to it. Then it was the boys' room, and then the kitchen. So that was our 4 square. Uh-huh. Yes. And my mother would have us sit on the floor, and she would read to us. Mm-hmm. And that just, the love of reading was just developed. And it just continued on. And we did the same thing with our children, our 3 sons. So, I started reading to them. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while until our youngest son was in 3rd or 4th grade. So we read to them. I started reading to them when they were infants. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the importance of starting early to develop literacy in kids. And, people talk about, when should you start? What is the age level? When we talk about the books later, we'll get into that some more. But it's important to start developing that early on. And that was one of the things that was happening in our house. And, she took a subscription to the newspaper, and I'd be the one to go out to the road and get it sometimes. She would sit there, read, I would read. So all of that was instilled in all of us, actually. So all of my siblings and I, and when you look at the lineage and what my parents did, that just followed through, even with my nieces and nephews. So that's a little bit about my background.
Yes. And now does this serve as inspiration as well, Sharon, from
Oh,
your parents and
yes.
with reading
And the writing, yes. I still remember trying to write even as a young girl. I remember that. And I loved going to the library.
Mhm.
And I have some memorabilia from high school. And one of those things is my library club pen and my tassel for my high school graduation and my 4-H club pen and, the student council. I had that one, and our oldest son decided that he wanted to get that one. But, and just learning how to write, I think that, as I mentioned, I had pen pals, and I would write to pen pals. And that's a practice, just knowing how to communicate with people, not just verbally, but in writing as well. And I did that, and, all the way through high school. But my writing really took off after I graduated from college and after I started working for Congress, where I worked for 6 years as a legislative correspondent.
Yes.
And that is really where my writing took off, because I had to do more research in writing and respond to constituents, and talk to people in the other members' offices and the committees, et cetera, and get the information that I needed to respond to constituents. And for that is really, I look at that as the place where my writing really took off.
And not only that, now you're also a professor as well.
Yes.
Sharon, please shed some light on that and how that came to fruition.
Yes. So I started in education in 1976.
Mhm.
And so I've been in education for about 40 years, probably more than that at this point, because, I started teaching in Tennessee. So I taught in Tennessee for 5 years. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., where I worked for Congress for 6 years. Then I was a stay-at-home mom, went back into education. Well, before then, I did some radio and television as well, on my way back into education.
Mhm.
And I retired from education. Now it's been, 13 years, I think. So the year that I retired from public education, I started working as a professor at some of the colleges, Middlesex, Rider, and now at Hudson County Community College, where I teach developmental reading, speech, and composition.
Awesome.
So that is where I am now, and continuing to. I have a number of other writing projects in place, so I'm working on those as well.
Well, obviously those skills are needed with reading and writing comprehension. We before the interview touched a little bit on, especially our younger people,
Yes.
needing to obtain these skills for their future and reading at certain levels, at certain ages, as they progress into middle school, high school, and college. Can you shed some light on that?
Yes, and when you talk about those skills, if you remember, we've heard a lot, or we've read a lot about what the pandemic did to students, because we were in a place where students were having to develop more than just their academic skills, but they were having to develop, how do I navigate going to school online?
Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I stay focused? How do I actually complete? How do I do what I need to do? So you had a mixture of situations of navigating, learning. So there were a lot of students, and statistics tell us that a lot of students, I don't know the exact number, but statistics I've heard and read, that students fell behind. And even before the pandemic, though, as I was looking at developmental reading, and it's amazing how students come in as freshmen who are lacking some of what I taught fourth graders language arts. So I've asked students, so what is it that you do? And what I've been told is that grammar is not taught as it was when we were in school. You're going through the whole process. And so I've asked, what is it that you do? And some have told me, well, we read books and then we write about it. So when we talk about the developmental of the writing process and the reading connecting, and I tell them all the time, reading and writing are both connected. They are connected. And if you don't have a good background or foundation in either, then you're going to miss somewhere because you need to know the sentence, you need to know the parts of speech.
Yes.
You need to know sentence structure. You need to know paragraph structure. You need to know the basics of even, and I get this, and I just recently finished grading essays, and I can't tell you how many times I have said, you need to indent the first sentence of each new paragraph.
Right.
So it seems as basic as that. You know, sentence fragments, run-on sentences, the whole process. So it's just going back to the basics. And I think that I've been seeing a lot and looking at a lot of information about how some people are starting to step back and come forward, because that's really important. Because there are some, by the time they get to college as freshmen, they don't have those skills. And one semester is not enough time to really delve into it as deeply as is necessary. So we do the best we can with helping them. So the classes that I teach are developmental, which are similar to probably the remedial in high school or middle school.
Okay. Yes.
So just helping them to hone in on those, what the skills that are lacking.
And it's interesting because you did mention, well, when the pandemic hit in 2020, it must have been some challenge for young people and children to make the adjustment to having to do their work from home, online, using the computers, being in a home environment with other family members, being locked down together, trying to get your work done, trying to adjust to this.
Yes.
Everything happening. I'm sure that you have a lot of testimony and stories as far as what the students were sharing, what they were getting through, trying to, get through that period of time with their education, right?
And when you think about the parents, there were parents who were home working. They were working and they were trying the same thing that the kids were doing. They're trying to figure out, how do I get my work done where it's monetized,
Yeah.
and then help you with your academics. And then too, in certain situations, if you remember, there were some who didn't have proper Wi-Fi,
That's right.
proper electronics. So there were just a lot of pieces to put together to bring about for the success. And when you think about all of those pieces that needed to be done, and the mental anguish from parents and students. So think about it. There were parents who, most parents are not educators. They are educated in their fields, but
Right.
they are not educators in terms of teaching their kids how to get what they need academically. So here you have parents who are struggling. When you think about 4th and 5th grade math now, is not quite the same as it was when we were in 5th and 6th grade. So you have these parents who may be top at their companies, but they may not know how to help their kids with all of the academics. And then the kids being home, their Xbox is somewhere nearby. So
Right. Distractions.
the distractions, and giving the kids breaks, and the employer calling them. It was just a lot going on. So there were some issues with, how do you do that? And it's quite understandable. I even remember when I was in graduate school years ago, and I was doing independent work at home, and I've said to so many people so often, even as an adult, I remember sitting in front of that computer and saying, God, please help me to stay in this chair
Right.
to get this. And think about it. So little kids who have such, it was a struggle. So I can understand it. But as I said, even before the pandemic, we were still seeing lack in the ability to stand and give a speech or to write an essay, to navigate the language arts skills. So that's where we are. So we're working on, hopefully getting better at that.
Interesting, Sharon. I also wanted to ask you too. I saw on your profile in your bio, you also years ago worked in television as well.
I did.
And I know you participate at Cathedral International Church as well.
Yes.
For the pre-service.
Yes.
Segment. So tell us about that. Your TV background.
That came about. I don't want to say by accident, because I don't think God does anything by accident.
Right.
But as I said, I was a stay-at-home mom until our youngest son was 3rd or 4th grade, and I went back to teaching full-time. But I was listening to the radio. There's a station in Trenton. I think it still exists. It's one of the low-power AM stations. And I was listening to it, and they asked for volunteers. So it was about February of that year. This was in the late 90s. And I decided to call and see about volunteering at the station. As I said, it was about February of that year. And the owner had several stations throughout the country. He lived in Norfolk, Virginia. Bishop Willis, actually, from Kojic, owned a number of stations. His daughter was actually managing this station and I guess some of the others. They had a talk show that they were going to cancel. Let's talk about it. I had never done radio and television ever. So when I went and I started volunteering, they were going to cancel the show. And my husband and I decided to buy it. So we bought the show. And I ended up, as I said, I had never done that before, anything like that. We bought the show, and I ended up being, of course, the host. And I did everything. I did the sales to raise funding for the show. I got my guests, Doug Palmer, who was former mayor, Florio, who was former governor of New Jersey, Susan from Sesame Street, Dr. Loretta Long, just some of the people that I had on the show. And I went out, as I said, and I did sales. I wrote the jingles. Sometimes I did the voiceovers.
Awesome. Yes.
And at some point, Randall, my husband, and I decided to, for whatever reason, move it to a station in Plainfield. So we did it there for a while. And after a while, I guess I saw an ad for New Jersey Network. And I ended up going to New Jersey Network, and I did a talk show there. And one of my guests was Flip Scholke, who was Dr. Martin Luther King's photographer. And so just a number of people that way. And I did the news there. And and from there, I also worked at New Jersey Network for Another View. I don't know if you remember that show, but it was all about news about the African American community in the New Jersey area. So I did that. Nice. And you're probably familiar with the old editing machines in television where you had the knobs and you had to...
The rubber knobs.
Yes, and to, figure out where you want to cut and where you want to go. And I ended up doing some of that, had never done it before. But so it was from there that, and the boys were young and who are almost 40 now. and I did that for a while. And after that, I went back into education full time. And by the grace of God, I was able to get a position in the district where our boys were going to school, which made it perfect for me because I was right there, if anything happened to them, I was able to go and get them. It was perfect. So it worked out. And so I ended up being there for 15 years. Yes. And then retired.
Well, it sounds like you enjoyed the experience.
Oh, I
at
did.
the
I
TV.
did. I did.
Yeah.
Yes. It was wonderful. And as I said, when I think back to my writing when I worked for Congress, and that was before we moved here, obviously. Um, so some of that, all of those skills just came about, and with the writing.
They do tie together
Yes,
more or
very
less.
much.
Journalism,
Yes.
television,
Yes.
broadcast.
Yes.
It all goes hand in hand.
Exactly. Exactly.
And also, Sharon, now let's talk about, you have a new book out.
Yes, I do.
Yes, let's hear about it. ABC Book of Poetry.
Yes. So Sharon Benjamin's ABC Book of Poetry. And after that one, I did I Miss Papa Albert. My first one was Jungle Jim.
Jungle Jim.
Yes, yes. So all of them, I wrote all of them in the early 90s. I wrote all of them in the early 90s. And it was when I was teaching. So when I was teaching third grade, we had to do a unit on structures of life. So we had crayfish in the classroom, real ones that would sometimes crawl out of the bin, and look, it was interesting. The other part of the structures of life unit was growing plants hydroponically. So that means you're putting them in water, no soil. And our building at the time was it was kind of like a airplane hangar. So the rooms, we just had dividers, cabinets and boards, etc., separating the rooms. And my room was one of those that was inside with no windows. So my book, Jungle Jim, came about because, well, as a part of that structures of life. So it was one morning, and this is the truth. I woke up with Jungle Jim on my mind. And I got up, ran downstairs, started writing, and it just flowed. I basically had the draft within an hour, and then, you go back and put everything together. But the book is about these kids who were in a classroom similar to mine, no windows, and they are growing the plants hydroponically, and the teacher asks them to take them to the gym because there's skylights there. And before the kids get out of the gym, the plants, they hear a noise, and they're like, what is that? They look back and the plants are growing crazy. And so it ends up, no place to have gym. And the principal says, okay, it's going to be, you can just play in the gym, and it becomes the Jungle Gym. Nice. Now, the book of poetry, the ABC Book of Poetry, I got home from church one Sunday. I was in the kitchen and preparing dinner. And the thought came to me, I'm a writer. I'm always writing. I don't, I scribble on napkins or wherever, whatever I can find. So I wrote down, don't dare dance during dinner. And the things just started flowing in terms of just the poems. And so this book, the first line of every poem is an alliteration. And they just started flowing, really. And so what I did was I would just write down the titles. And I went back and did all of the poems. And that is how this one came about. So it's 26 poems, ABC Book of Poetry, 26 poems. And it's just, it was fun. It was fun, really. So when you look through here, this one, for example, Language Loves Laughter. Language loves laughter all over the world. All languages far and near are captured in its whirl. Whether in Brazil or Africa, Japan or Chesapeake, laughter is the language that all people speak. Yes. Although I've never seen an alien from way out of space, I bet the language of laughter would put a smile on its face. So let's keep laughter universal whenever we meet someone new, because you never know that very quote unquote new someone just might someday be you. So all of them, some are short, some are long. The first one, alligators ate apples on top of the tree. So it's just fun. And so my illustrator is Jay Foster, and Jay Foster is actually from Plainfield.
Yes, hello, Jay.
Yes, Jay. And he did the illustrations for all three of my books.
Excellent, excellent
He's
illustrations.
he is excellent. He is excellent. And I was just in touch with him recently because I'm, getting ready for another project and I need a cover for it. And my other book, I Miss Papa Albert,
Mhm.
is kind of fictional, biographical, autobiographical. It's not exactly me, but so this is about a little girl who goes to her grandfather's funeral. She's with her father. Her father is standing there, and he is, about to cry, but she can't cry. And she's wondering why. So throughout the book, she has these memories of Papa Albert. And at the end, when she hears the organist playing her grandfather's favorite hymn, that's when tears start to run down her face. So that's that one. But they're all available. Well, I Miss Papa Albert and the ABC Book of Poetry are both available online on Amazon, and the Jungle Gym, people would have to order it from me. But that's it for those books. But as I said, I'm always writing. I'm always writing. And it's interesting. I don't know about you, Kyle, but I have files and files of stuff. So as I was going through some of the papers recently, I found something I had written down in 2019. I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's just a whole lot that I've written down. In fact, as Randall and I, continue to revise our estate plans,
Mhm.
one of the things I've looked at is and asked our children, so who wants my intellectual property?
Yes.
Because there are some that I have not finished writing. I do expect to live for at least 35 more years.
Yes.
But who would want that? And
Mhm.
all of our sons write, but there's one who writes more than the other two.
Mhm.
And one of them who is an oncologist, I don't think he's interested in the writing that
Right.
I've done, that kind of thing. He writes this medical stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know that, any of these would be interested.
Mhm.
He would be interested in any of these. The other two are writers, but as I said, there's one who is more a writer than the others. And that's the one who has said he would like my intellectual properties. So we'll see how that goes after I'm gone 35 years from now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Hey, we want to make sure you all support Sharon Benjamin. Go on Amazon, buy these books. We'll have more information in the credits, but we're here to support each other.
yes.
And we want our younger people to read more and read positive and engaging
Yes.
material that's good for them and good for their souls. So, and again, we're going to put information in the credits, but please support Sharon Benjamin's books. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sure, we'll definitely give you the plug, Sharon.
Yes.
So you're welcome. And I did want to ask you a few more questions, Sharon.
Sure.
I wanted to ask now, back to learning how to read and reading skills, especially in schools. What tactics or systems could be put in place to create habitual reading amongst children, whether it's home or in the school environment? That was my question to you.
There are a number of things that people can do. One of the articles, I have about 70 articles on LinkedIn, and one of them has to do with starting at home. Now, not every person has the ability to have amass a catalog of reading material at home. I remember when I was in graduate school, there was one study that was done, and the students who, and this is probably a no-brainer, really, maybe not, but there were students or children who, we get the circulars in the paper and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And for some kids, that's the reading material that they get. That's what they have. But communities have done a lot to kind of support parents in that regard. There are a number of programs at libraries. There are a number of free programs. And I'm hoping that more and more parents are made aware. The schools, I hope, are making parents aware of what's available, what's free to them. There are programs that are free. Libraries have programs during the summer to encourage students. You know, they have these prizes. Read this many books and we'll give you these prizes, or read this and come in every week and you can get things. So it really starts at home. Harvard University did a study, and this was when our boys, I keep calling them boys, they're almost 40, but at any rate, did a study. We were not a part of the study, but my husband worked for CBS News, and they wanted to, highlight the fact that when children start reading early, when they're exposed to reading early, they're more likely to be readers, because reading does a lot for kids. So as I said, we were not a part of the study, but Randall got the information when he was at work. So CBS News sent a crew out to our house.
Oh, okay.
And to interview the boys and me, and they were there. And then there was a write-up. So that article is on LinkedIn as well, and it shows the boys on the bed reading, shows us at the dinner table. So they sent a crew out not because we were so grand, but just to indicate the importance of starting at home. As I said, when you think back, I mentioned that my mother read to us, and my mother talked about her teachers with such admiration and what they did. And although she was only able to finish an 8th grade education, I do remember my mother trying to make it her business to finish her GED. She didn't drive, as I said, so getting there and getting everything done was probably hit or miss, which she never finished. But we saw the example. And so when you think about strategies and opportunities, the kids need to see their parents reading.
Yes, yes.
They need to see their parents reading. They need to have their parents reading to them, or the caregivers reading to them. There should be a variety of reading materials, because exposure to a variety of reading material, it makes a difference in their ability to have conversations with different people, expose them to different people. Every person, one of the things that we tried to do with our sons was make sure they knew different people. They need to know how to talk to people on the street. They need to know how to talk to homeless people. They need to know how to talk to the elderly. They need to know how to talk to the President of the United States. They need to know how to communicate. So it can't just be, I know that we are in a microwave electronic age.
Absolutely.
We see toddlers in the grocery store with the devices.
Yes.
So parents need to know how to help them navigate that. I did a presentation at a local library, and one of the fathers mentioned that his son was only reading a certain kind of thing, a certain genre. And how do I get him to read something else? Well, maybe one idea could be, all right, so you can read this genre, but you have to read this as well. You can read this genre, go back to your regular one, but here's a different one that you have to read. Talk to them about what they've read. Have them talk to you. Have them write about it. Writing is still a skill.
Yes.
Have them write about it. And one of the things when I think about, even now, students that I teach in college, being able to comprehend and write about what you've read. That is something that I encounter, because students sometimes don't know how to relate life to what they've read. They're not able to pull information from what they've read and merge it
And apply it.
and apply it.
Gotcha.
I see it so often, and even as we come to the end of another semester, some of that is still lacking depending on the student. So applying all of those, the reading and writing skills don't change as people get older.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to people in business and how are students and that creative and that critical thinking,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
how it's lacking even in the workforce now. And I hear people say, I don't care about the GPA, how they graduated, whatever Ivy League, fine. But when you give them a task, how well can they navigate it? When you give them a task,
Mm-hmm.
can they figure out what to do with it? All right, how do I do this? No, I mean, you graduated at the top of your class from an Ivy League,
Yeah.
but you're still not able to critically figure out. And on that note, that's part of my next project, actually. Navigating critical thinking skills or developing critical thinking skills. So kids have to be exposed. We took our children to a lot of places and they met a lot of people in different situations. That's important. You need them to know how to write more than just a text message.
Yes, yes.
So there may be times, you can use certain jargon when you're with your friends. But
Yeah.
can you do that on a professional level? As I said, there were 13 children in my family. So we get together, you slap them up with, different slang, different language.
Sure.
But you have to know how to switch codes.
That's right. And in a corporate environment.
In a corporate environment.
You have to know it.
You have to know how to do that. And I'm going to tell you, I have gotten papers with students, run-on sentences, sentence fragments, the pronoun I, still lowercase, or getting, the kind of language that you would see in a text message.
Yes, and I think even with the technology that's ushered in the last 15, 20 years, it's a blessing and a curse to me because it can expedite work process and flows and just general communication, but also a lot can get lost. And you mentioned writing compared to texting, and you're writing like you're texting someone, and it can get confusing. And but again, the technology, it's good on certain avenues to me, but certain things don't make that always your first go-to. You got to know how to read and write first, and just don't be too heavily dependent on the technology because, and I work in technology as well, and sometimes something fails or something's not working, and you mentioned critical thinking, and you got to think of something right away or within minutes. It could be a meeting, a conference, some type of event, and there's a problem, and that critical thinking has to kick in.
It does. It does. And even so as we move forward, we talk about AI now. We talk about AI, and the college has given us the opportunity to take AI classes, which is wonderful. And as I was in one of the classes, one of the big pieces is that you have to check AI. So whatever you put in, remember, humans put it in.
Right. That's right.
So you have to check it. And it's the same thing when you're using the MLA format for your writing, and there are programs where you can just put in your sources for your research paper and get the MLA format. However, you still have to check that because it's not always perfect. So it's just knowing how to do that. And I remember when I was taking one of the AI sessions, and you can put anything in, You can put any, literally. So just for a fun thing, I put in something about a baby bear and its mother or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I asked for an illustration, you know, the bear around the tree. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
It gave it back to me.
Yeah.
And so now schools and colleges, we had to put in our syllabi an AI statement, because it's either you use it with certain parameters or you don't use it at all. So it's just a check, because I remember a good friend of ours, an older lady who, she and her husband about 90 years old, and I remember her saying, if humans did it, humans can undo it.
Yes. It's profound. That's true.
Profound, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, you have to check it, cross check, checks and
Proofread.
balances.
All that stuff. Right?
Yes, yes.
There's always a human factor.
Always, always, always. Because even as Kyle, think about when you're writing papers, etc., and you get those squiggly red or green lines,
Yes.
sometimes they're not correct.
Right.
Sometimes they're not correct. So you still have to check.
Yes, yes. Oh, thank you. This is interesting, Sharon. And I thank you. I did want to ask you too. We saw this quote on the internet, having to do with reading, but basically, this a quote somewhere said, "If you want to hide something from a Black person, put it in a book." And I just want to know your thoughts on that statement there.
I'm not sure who coined that phrase, but I take issue with it, because if you look at us historically, we read.
Yes,
We read.
we do.
I was in our basement this morning looking for something. There are treasures down there, trust me. And on one of the shelves, I saw a book about Black history makers. And one of the authors of the book, if I remember correctly, was Du Bois. So when you think about long, long, long time ago, we have been readers. And think about now, I would venture, I might be wrong, but that sounds like a quote that somebody else would have said about us.
Yeah,
Some of the other people would have said about us, because remember, historically, the other people knew that if we learned how to read, there would be a problem for them.
Absolutely.
And so we learned how to read. So it's too late now.
Right.
We've done it. We know how to do it now.
Yes. We've been progressing.
We've been progressing. And I think that more and more of us are doing it, even with our kids, in spite of what some of the systems might have tried to do. Our kids are reading. There is a couple in Plainfield, New Jersey, the Bookers, and they are, the husband is 102, the wife is 100 years old.
Right.
In fact, we celebrated her birthday. I'm also part of the National Association of University Women. So we had a birthday celebration for her, and her husband was there as well.
Right.
They were instrumental in bringing about changes in the Plainfield school system, because Mrs. Booker mentioned that their son came home and wanted to know why they didn't have some of the same material that the other schools had. So the Bookers, along with some other people, filed a lawsuit and brought about major changes in the Plainfield school system. And one of the schools was just named for them in Plainfield.
Yes, I have seen that school. It may be on Woodland or in Plainfield area, but yes.
Yes. Was named for them.
Yes, that's right.
So when we talk about reading and someone hiding it in a book, let me tell you, I just think I know that's a false statement. And, you know, as I said, my parents didn't have formal education, but they were intent on us getting an education. And I remember my mother saying, get an education because you never know what might happen. The what might happen, I don't know what she was referring to because before my father died in 1995, our parents had been married for almost 52 years. So I don't know what she meant by, but you never know what will happen. By the grace of God, Randall and I are going on 41 years of marriage, and he's been a great husband and father. So we've never had to worry about anything in that regard, financially or whatever might be. But they were intent on that. So, and she was, as I said, she was very complimentary of her teachers. So we've been readers. We have been readers. As I said, I read to our boys and from infancy. So when they would come home from school with their backpacks, they'd go into the bathrooms and they would be in there, not doing their homework, but reading. Mm-hmm. So we decided to just put magazine racks in all the bathrooms. So that was what we did. And they would, and my husband was so innovative. Whenever we went on vacation in the summers, they had to have their backpacks, and they had backpacks full of books. Mm-hmm. So, and they did not, let me see, when did they get cell phones? I don't know when they got cell phones. The old flip phones.
Oh, yeah.
They must have gotten those, I don't know, when they were getting out of high school, maybe, because that was not something that we did. They never had music or televisions in their rooms. We always had one TV at our house, which is all we have now.
Yes, yes.
So whatever anybody watched is what we all watched. And I would, if you remember years ago, the newspapers would have the new TV guides in the newspapers.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
So on Sundays, I would have the TV guide, and I would go through the TV guide and said, this is what we're watching. Mm-hmm. This is what we're watching this week. So it wasn't any of those, get up and flip on the TV or sit up late at night and watch just any kind of foolishness. We didn't do that. So not that it might sound like we had our kids in a bubble or a cage. No. But no, we didn't. We did expose them to things, but we wanted to make sure they were properly guided and navigated. And you know what's happening, Kyle? They're doing the same things with their kids.
Well, it's important, the family structure and unison and disciplined family unit. Years ago, family dinner, you ate together, you shared, we didn't have the distractions back then. And now, maybe not everybody, but now, one child might be on his iPhone in one room and the other kid's on the iPad, and there's no family structure or unit. No one's talking or sharing together.
Well, and I continue to read to our sons, even as they were in high school. So we had our meals together. Mm-hmm. I remember, sitting at the table and reading to them. I don't know how many books I read to them while we were sitting at the table. And one of the things we did too, getting ready for school, we prayed together and read scripture together. So I still have a vision of being in the bathroom with the boys while they're getting ready and I'm reading, because we did it however we could. And so reading the scripture to them before they were off to school. So just having things in place, and just now seeing that they are doing some of the same things with their kids, and our kids, our grandkids, when they come to visit, they know about just certain structures that they have. So,
and in the long run, everyone's well and,
yes,
and doing well with their families and careers. So,
yes,
what you instill, into your children at the time is paid off in the long run and continues with your grandchildren.
Exactly. Yes, paid off.
Yes. And Sharon, also, you were recently award winner of the Omega Sci-Fi Educator of the Year award. Congratulations, Sharon.
Thank you. Yes, that was quite an honor to think about someone thinking of me as having, being the Educator of the Year. Of course, my husband is in the fraternity. That might have had something to do with it. Might have had something to do with it. But at any rate, just because he recommended that I be considered didn't mean that they would actually accept it. And they did, so I appreciate that.
Well, congrats again on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And also earlier in the fall, I believe you were down in DC for the Congressional Black Caucus Author Showcase.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so our oldest son and his wife, we were in conversation, and I think it was our oldest son, Keith, who he and his wife suggested that I register for the Congressional Black Caucus, which I had not considered doing. And I went on right away and registered for it. And by the time I registered for it, because the CBC event opens early in the year. So people who've gone year after year, of course, they are watching the timeline, and when things come up, they hit. Mm-hmm. Well, by the time I registered, the part where I wanted to be a part with the author showcase, the least expensive tables were already gone, which were $200 for a table. Mm-hmm. And so I was put on the wait list. And our oldest son, who did some campaigning for Obama, and he worked for the Department of Transportation, U.S. Department of Transportation, with Secretary Buttigieg in the Biden administration. Now he's a VP for a transportation company, one of the top transportation companies in the country, and they do stuff all over the world. Mm-hmm. And so he was in Texas for an event. And when I told him that I was on the wait list, now, by the grace of God, our sons are doing well, but I never asked them for anything, for their contacts, or can I get this from you? I never do that, because I never want anyone to think that I know them just to get something from them. Yes. So I don't ask them for anything. Mm-hmm. But he took it up on himself. He called me and he said he was on the phone, on a Zoom or something with some of Biden's former staffers. And one of them was one of the organizers for the CBC. And he mentioned my situation of waitlisted. and she decided to give me the opportunity to be a part of it. And it was an amazing experience. I had, as I said, I worked for Congress for 6 years, but I had never been a part of the Congressional Black Caucus. And being on stage and being able to present was an amazing event. So that's how that came about, with his connection and all. But as I said, I didn't ask for it. Mm-hmm. I would have just been on the wait list and maybe would never have gotten there. But that happened.
Congrats on
Thank you.
the achievement. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And also, Sharon, Fun Free Fitness on Facebook.
Yes.
Which I've seen some of your exercise videos, and also you also run 5 and 10K marathons, correct?
My husband and I are now competitive runners. I started running years ago. Mm-hmm. I had never done any competitive running. And so in 2019, I had bunionectomy surgery, 1 foot in May and 1 in July. And so I had not run for a while. I had started back, walking and running a bit. And I do my bike as well. We both have bikes now. And our youngest son and his wife, who live in the DC area as well, our youngest son, Aaron, suggested that we participate in a run that they do. It's in November every year. And so I decided to do it in 2023. Randall did not do it then, mm-hmm. but since that time, we both have been doing it. And we've been doing some other runs as well, some 5Ks. And the last one that we did was in November for Thanksgiving. We did it on Thanksgiving Day, which was a turkey trot. And I don't know how many people were who participated, mm-hmm. but we did the 5K. And I came in first place for my age category of 70 to 75. So I did. I
Yes.
came in first place in my
Yes.
category. Randall came in 12th for his category.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
So we also do one in March. So that one will be coming up. Registration's not open yet. We've done that one in the last 2 years. So, and Randall did another one back in May in North Brunswick. He did that 5K. I didn't do that one. But yeah, so we get out and do that. And you mentioned the free fun fitness that I do Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And I started doing that when the pandemic occurred because Randall and I had been going to the health club religiously. And when everything was shut down, then, we couldn't go. So I'm like, I have to do something. So I started doing that. So it's going on 6 years now.
Oh, congrats. Looks like you're enjoying that and having a lot of fun. And it's
I
good to
do.
get people engaged. And
Yes,
involved, and
yes.
as soon as early as possible, get that workout in.
Yes, yes.
It'll carry you through the day.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So I love watching documentaries. And so a lot of what I share while I'm exercising is from the documentaries about people, places, and things.
Very good, Sharon.
Yes, yes.
We'll be checking that out. And
Yeah, so listen, you can join us 6 a.m.
Yes.
Facebook Live, Sharon Benjamin, EST, Facebook Live.
Eastern Standard
Eastern
Time.
Standard Time,
That's
yes.
5 days a week.
Monday through Friday.
Okay, amen.
And sometimes I'll do a spontaneous one on a weekend, but I let people know if that's going to happen.
Okay, enjoy. Get out there, y'all. And Sharon, I did want to just ask you, this is like a get to know segment that our viewers can just, a little bit about some of your other interests. I'm just going to rifle off a few words.
Okay, okay.
Please respond.
Okay.
These questions, Sharon, I'd like to say is, what is your favorite color?
I'm not sure, but I like a lot of pink and green. I'm not AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. Some people think I am, but I'm not. But I just happen to like those colors and have liked them for years. So
Very well, yes. Favorite foods?
Well, my favorite food. Now, I told you earlier that I grew up on a farm and we ate everything. Name it, we ate it.
Yeah.
Pig feet, chicken feet, name it, we ate it. Chitlins, we ate it. But in the last, I don't even know how many years, Kyle, probably more than 10 years, I'm not a vegetarian, but it's rare that I eat any meat at all. So my diet is mainly plant-based. So I prepare soups and lentils and things along that line. So eat lots of nuts, buy the cashews and roast them myself. So I like vegetables, fruits and vegetables for the most part. As I said, I rarely eat any meat. I still cook, chicken and ground turkey for Randall, but that's about it. He doesn't, I don't even know when we've had red meat in our house. I don't even know when. I don't even know when, really. So, but.
Well, that's a good diet too, relating to exercise and working out. Soups, nuts, vegetables, fruits. It all ties together, really.
Yes.
To stay fit.
It's interesting, Kyle. One of my sisters and I have laughed about, we ate a lot of beans and greens. We grew things. And we've laughed because, now you see a lot of organic this and organic that. And we laugh. We were like, you know what? We were already eating organically. We were already eating organically because sometimes we did not have meat. So what my mother would do is she would boil eggs.
Okay.
She would boil eggs, and we would cut up boiled eggs in our greens, or so we were beyond the curve way back. So these people are just catching up.
We're just catching on. You're in front of it already.
Oh yeah. Oh, we were in front of it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Been there, done that.
Yes. Favorite vacation spots?
Favorite vacation spot? Well, Randall and I like to do road trips.
Mm-hmm.
And when our boys were young, sometimes we'd be on the road for almost 2 weeks. We do our planning, the hotels and the sites that we would see. We even went to Nova Scotia, so we boarded the ferry in Maine, took our vehicle, did that. So we did, as I said, I'm from Tennessee, and our boys had not gone to some of the southern states, so we did a southern trip where we visited Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia. We did a Midwestern trip, which incorporated Oklahoma. You may remember the Oklahoma bombing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
One of our sons, I think he was like 6th grade, I believe it was. They actually did a play, and he was in the play. So it was important. We visited the site and took pictures there and had a copy of the program with his name in it.
Mm-hmm.
We visited, we went Midwestern. So we just went all over. Randall and I were out on the West Coast. Our godson got married in LA in 2016, and he wanted Randall to do the ceremony. I hope he doesn't get me for this, but he doesn't like to fly.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, no, you need to get somebody else. I am not flying that many miles. My feet can't touch the ground from that height. So I am not flying.
Yeah.
But we did.
Okay.
It was a wonderful trip. So we did the ceremony. He did the ceremony in LA. We stayed in Pasadena. And interestingly, you see all the traffic jam about LA.
Mm-hmm.
We never saw that when we were out there. We were like, where's the traffic? Where's the traffic? But at any rate, so from LA, we went to San Francisco. But we drove from LA.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove the US Route 1. Remember the highway that you see in the movie where the people are falling off the cliff?
Along the coast.
Along the coast? Yeah. Well, let me tell you, it's that treacherous. It is. So we videotaped part of as we were going, but I was doing the driving.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, some of those turns are hairpin turns where you are going like 5-10 miles an hour.
My goodness. Yeah, it looks wicked watching.
And look, the ocean is right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Is right there, but it's beautiful. It was a beautiful drive. And so in between, we stayed at San Luis Obispo, which is mountainous. So we did some hiking, and we love doing that. We love the outdoors. When we visited Maine, wherever we go,
It's nice.
Wherever we go, we look for the outdoors. And Rhode Island, we did the same thing. And wherever we go, we look for the outdoors. We love nature, and even now, we do the trails and wherever we find, and people here in New Jersey. The Delaware Raritan Canal
is like on there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. So we do that a lot as well.
And Sharon, that goes from New Brunswick, Johnson Park, 70 miles.
All the way down.
Right?
Yes.
Through Princeton, through Trenton.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's really nice.
Stockton, all the way down.
Yeah.
Frenchtown.
Yes.
And there is a group that has a 100-mile ride of the trail. It's the Delaware Loop. It's one. I haven't done it, but I'm also a part of Black Girls Run. So some of the ladies actually do it. You don't do it all at once. You do loops. And you do it during the winter time. That's the thing.
So Oh, very nice. And favorite author or authors, Laurel?
Or genres. I'll say, historical. I like those, historical fiction. history. One that I haven't, well, I'll tell you about one that I read, White Fragility. The young lady talks about why white people don't understand racism.
Mhm.
Excellent book. Another one that I read, wish I could remember the author's name, but Harlem Rhapsody, which is about W.E.B. Du Bois's mistress.
Mm.
And it's amazing. And I did do some research about his mistress. His wife knew about it. He had more than one, though.
Mhm.
So that's a good book. And
Mhm.
one that I haven't read yet is The Secretary. And it's about J.P. Morgan's mistress, who was African American. And it talks about, and she ended up developing his library. She was an amazing art curator. So look her up. It's an amazing story.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Yes.
And music genres,
Um,
favorite artists.
I don't know if I have a favorite artist, and I'm not in tune with a lot of music. One song that I've been playing recently, so John P. Key did a remake of Stevie Wonder's Love and Need. So that one is great. I like listening to some of the old music. Randall has a collection, a major collection of 45s
Nice.
from the Motown. I mean, a major collection of them. And I need to remind him to put that in our will and estate for one of the, I don't know who's going to get it. But so we've also collected albums from that era. We have music from the Motown era, big band. We have that. And Randall bought a record player.
Mhm.
So, sometimes we'll put on some of that music.
No, that's wonderful. You can still enjoy it
Yes,
in its authenticity.
that's
Just dropping the
right.
needle on the vinyl, and
Yes,
it's just,
yes,
very enjoyable.
yes,
Sure.
yes,
Yes. And lastly, Sharon, we're about to wrap up,
yes.
but would you like to give any special hellos or shout outs to anybody viewing right now on Video Explosion?
Yes, to all of you writers and wannabe writers, I am, Kyle, giving a free writers workshop in the spring. I've scheduled it tentatively for March. So if
Mhm.
some people would like to, you've been thinking about writing a book, this would just be a start for anyone who would be interested in writing.
Is there, for more information?
Yes, my email, SBENITAB, SBenitaB@gmail.com.
Thank you. And of course, we'll have that in the credits
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
But thank you, Sharon. We really appreciate you. We're blessed by your presence today and contributing and this talk. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
You're
for being with
welcome.
us
It's
today,
been
Sharon.
fun. I enjoyed talking about reading and writing. I didn't mention I did a couple of literacy forums. Former Governor Jim McGreevey
Mhm.
asked me to be a panelist on some of his literacy forums. And
Okay.
back in November of 2024, I was on one of the forums at Hudson County Community College. And then I was on another forum in May of 2025 talking about literacy and about, we were mentioning today, the importance of getting kids into reading and sustaining that.
Yes, always. No, thank you for your service and contribution, Sharon. And again, thank you for being on the program. And we'd love to have you back on sometime.
Of course, of course. Let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is DJ Finesse from Video Explosion. We'll see you next time.